All right. So usually what inspires me is like what I'm doing with my clients. Okay. So lately, a lot of my clients have been having a lot of karmic stuff coming up, right? Because we're in karmic times. Karmic times. We've got a lunar moon, I don't know if it's a full moon or a new moon, eclipse. And then on my birthday is the Great American, what is it? Great American eclipse, solar eclipse.
Solar eclipse.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's on my, I'm not going to say how old I am, but there's a very important birthday and a very important eclipse, right? So right now, so many people are feeling the moodiness as that karma, and things are shifting, really big shifts. Like big shifts, like people are having severe pain, right? Because you think about energy as a weight on your shoulders, all this burden that you're needing to karmically come to terms with. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So karma, what do you know about karma?
Well, I just wanted to address the point. I had this random thought.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a fun fact.
Okay.
So you know the term lunatics?
Yes.
I believe that comes from the term, it comes from like people recognizing that people act differently whenever there's a full moon.
That's a true thing.
Yeah. And like ER doctors and nurses will tell you that.
Yeah, so the moon, if you think about, there's a veil between our realm and the spirit realm, okay? And so the idea is that that veil becomes very thin during the full moon, and so people are going to become more sensitive to the other side. So imagine if you're driving and all of a sudden you see a ghost like run out into the street. Because when you're here's something. Okay, so when my mom, when I was little and I was in Taiwan, actually not my mother, my grandmother, when we would drive past accidents in Taiwan, she would have my cousin, push Jenny's head down, and my cousin would keep pushing my head down, like this. Don't look. And I'm like, why? Because Amma says if you look at an accident site and there's a ghost and they make eye contact with you, they can jump in. Right? And so that's kind of the idea, like when there's this moon, the full moon, the veil becomes thinner and stuff can affect you. You get more feisty because like if you have a lot of dark energy already inside of you, and then there's like the naughty ghosts, around, they're going to be like, do it. Kill him. Hit that bitch.
And this ties into karma, right? Because your past will have given the naughty ghosts their
comeuppance.
Yeah.
Is it comeuppance? I have to think about Macklemore's song. I think he talks about that. Anyway, karma. So, there's so many different components. So there's good deeds versus bad deeds. If you do good deeds, then you'll have good karma, but not necessarily, right? So you have to think about like, why are you doing this good deed? Are you doing it so that you don't have bad karma? Because that doesn't count, right? Heaven knows.
Yeah, the intention. If you do good things to be recognized for the good things that you do, it's disingenuous.
It's disingenuous. In fact, think about like the mortal realm. When you are at work and you're busting your ass, you're doing all the things, you're trying to stand out, you're trying to be helpful, you're trying to show up, and your boss doesn't notice you. And then you get angry and you get pissed, and then it makes you feel like you don't matter. The same in relationships. If you show up in your marriage or in your partnership, and then nobody notices, they don't pay attention, they're not aware of what you're doing, then the intention is going to backfire on you, because your intention is to get attention. Well, that's not good karma. That's not a good deed, right?
Right.
It's not selfless. It's
This
motivated.
is true. Although sometimes at work you do need to get attention, but in relationships, yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
a little bit different. Like you don't want to be, hey, look, I made you coffee this morning. Therefore, you should love me.
That's
Why aren't you loving
You
me?
know, that's a trigger for me. Sorry, hold on just a second.
Yeah, so the intention is there.
Yeah, and I think if you're gonna be selfless, be selfless. That's where the good karma comes in. Your intention is to just do something because somebody else needs it more than you need it, right?
Mhm.
That is good. Now, when does it become bad? When you're totally you're doing it and you keep doing it and you keep doing it. You keep doing all these things. Let me bring you coffee. Let me plan this for you. Let me take this burden for you. You just keep showing up for people without considering yourself. Okay? Well, then there's karma there too, because that is going to affect you as well. I have clients like that all the time. They end up losing themselves because they're giving their time and their energy. Here, you take this, take this, take this, take this. Well, if you're giving a piece of yourself and you're spreading yourself thin, so then you have nothing left to give. Your fire burns out, and then you feel worthless. You feel like you don't matter. Nothing matters. Because what you started off as being selfless in doing, there's no glory in it for you. Not that you need the glory, but it needs to matter. Something needs to matter. That's the whole point. That's our purpose, is to have a life worth living. So that something needs to matter, okay? And then things can shift. Sometimes you're going to matter. Sometimes I'm going to matter, and that's okay. We can't be completely selfless. We can't be completely self-centered. We can't be completely selfish. What we try to do is be centered, okay? And that's our true nature. When we're centered, it's our starting point. So you start every day being centered. This is who I am. This is what I like. This is what I want to do. And you navigate your day, okay? But at some point in your day, I start my day. Oh, well, Brooke's she's just been really busy with her work, right? And so it's like, you know what? I'm going to take my time and energy and I'm going to make her coffee, because I used to like it when someone would make coffee for me. So I'll make her coffee. Okay? So now I'm giving more than I'm receiving. And that's okay, because that joy, when she comes out and she's like, oh, bless, because I made her coffee, I know what that feels like, to totally be unexpected and be like, fuck, you just did something for me. And you didn't have to. And that matters. That makes me feel important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's selfless. But it's also a little self-focused too, right? Because it makes me feel good to do something good for somebody. Now,
But is that necessarily a bad thing?
No, that's a good thing.
Like sometimes that good feeling is the right signaling that you're doing something correct.
Correct.
Right? It's listening to that inner voice that says, oh, hey, yeah, this is something good that you should do, versus you do something bad, you sort of get a bad feeling. Right? Listening to that inner voice and then trying to run away from one and towards the other, and it's just a part of life, right?
Well, so fast forward, let's say that I've been, I try not to overdo it, because I'm much older than Brooke. And so I've been through the pouring myself into somebody else. So I try to make an effort and be intentional. So instead of doing it every day, maybe I do it every other day, and maybe I notice, like in a week, is she doing things? It's not that I'm trying to keep score, but maybe I notice she has time and I'm really busy, and it's like, oh, she could take Penny out to go potty. And, especially if you ask someone, like, I need your help. Can you take Penny outside to potty? Mm-hmm. I don't want to take Penny outside. Well, then it's like, all right? So then that's when karma starts setting in, right?
Right.
Like, it's the deeds. So you love all the good deeds, but you're not giving. And in this case, of course, Brooke would take penny outside. That was just an
But there
example.
are very toxic people that will take and take and take until there's
Right.
nothing left of that other person.
Right. And so those people might be like, hey, you didn't make my coffee this morning. Right? And so it's like, oh, well, it's not about you. No, because I used to like, oh shit, you didn't make my coffee this morning. But it wasn't that I wasn't appreciative of the coffee. It was that, well, that's the one thing that you do for me. You know, I would like more things done for me because I do a lot of things for others. Right? So it should be an equal exchange. It doesn't have to be equal right in the moment. But in a span of moments,
Has to average.
there needs to be an average
Yeah.
there because that matters. It makes you feel like you matter. It makes me feel like I matter. Not just my efforts, but receiving efforts as well, because there's a give and a take. There's actually 3 components to every stream of energy. So I don't know if you remember, every color represents one emotion, one color, one piece of your soul. Okay? So let's use pink. I like using pink. That's caring. So there's the part of me that cares for you. There's the part of you that cares for me. So that's me receiving the caring. And then there's the part of me that cares for myself. That one piece is huge. Huge. And why does that matter? Because when you talk about healing through karma, that's what you're trying to do. That's the ultimate piece of the puzzle. There's the part of you that gave to somebody and they took it. There's the part of you that didn't receive reciprocation. Okay?
So it's a double negative, right?
Well, it depends on where you're at, okay? In this case, you're you, I'm me, I'm giving to you. You're taking, but you're not giving back. So I'm not receiving, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's usually, now it could be the other way around. You take more than you give. I give more than I take. But maybe with Brooke, I take more than I give, or I give more than I take, right? Different relationships have different giving and taking.
So
are you following?
With karma though specifically, is it more or less like a bank of energy where you have all these different relationships in your life, and some of those you are doing, let's say, well, karmically speaking.
Right.
Others
Equal.
you are not.
Right.
But like, +1 plus a -1, equals 0. Is that how it works, or?
+1 and a -1, that balances, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you're good. Then you're good.
Let's say like you're really good to someone that's +5, but you're really terrible to someone else, a -5.
So then you would have karma with them.
Mm.
But you would only have karma with the other person if you gave, and they took, and didn't give back.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? It doesn't matter. It's the exchange rate. If it's not equitable, then there's karma there. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. But what you're trying to learn, so it works better if we give an example. Let me see if I can muster an example of karma without being too personal. That's
That's the trick, right?
that's a trick. Okay, so let's talk about soul connections. Twin flames, okay? Or just soul connections in general. So soul connections can be twin flames. Everybody has their idea of what that means. Do you know what a twin flame is?
I don't. I've heard this term. I don't
Yeah.
really know what it means.
Machine Gun Kelly has a song. Love that song. Love Machine Gun Kelly. He is a triple Scorpio. So he's deep and he's dark. I like that. So a twin flame, it depends on who you are, but the way I feel the energy of a twin flame, it's like a yin and a yang, okay? It's 2 souls that are one, and they have a purpose, a divine purpose. but they split into two pieces. So now this person carries all of this. This is what they have to do until the end. And this is what this person has to do. Okay? And so every lifetime they come together, and their goal is to heal each other's deficiencies.
To combine flames.
If you can learn your lesson, this one teaches this one a lesson, this one teaches this one a lesson. If they can learn their lessons, then you come together and have that ultimate Chip and Joanna Gaines relationship. Okay, what does that look like? Creation. Okay, they have this empire that they built, all because not only of the connection, the love that they have, but their willingness to work through their disconnects for the sake of what they've created, their family.
Mm-hmm.
So important. Family is so important. And I think that in a day and age where, I don't want to shit on divorce, because who hasn't been divorced? I mean, you. But you're fresh.
I'm almost at 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that, I don't think divorce can destroy necessarily the family or the family unit, okay? But I think that there's something to kind of trying to do your best to work through your disconnects or earn your way out. Okay, so go back to the twin flames. A twin flame relationship, everybody wants one. But I don't think they realize energetically the hot mess that is, right? You have, it's not like everything is cohesive. You're talking tumultuous relationship because the highs are highs.
And the lows are low.
And the lows are lows. Like lows.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where people come in and visit me as a healer. I can't tell you how many times, I never forget this one guy showed up and he was sweating. He's an older guy, he's sweating. And he was probably in his late 50s. And first he called me. I remember I was coming home from Leavenworth and he called me. I was like, something's happening to me. I don't know what's happening to me. He's like whispering and I'm like, are you okay? He's like, there's this woman and I met her and I've known her before, but we ran into each other and I can't stop thinking about her. He's like, I don't think you understand. I've written this woman 100 poems in the last month. And I've never written a poem. I'm almost 60. I've never written a poem in my life, and I've written her nearly 100 poems. I can't stop thinking about her. And I don't understand. And I'm married. I'm happily married. I'm very much in love with my wife. I have my family. I am not leaving my family for this woman. But all I think about is this woman. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going on. I don't know, what is happening to me. And I'm like, ooh, buddy, sounds like you got a twin flame. And I'm so sorry. I'm coming home from Leavenworth, so I'm about to lose service. Book an appointment online. Have you come in and let's see what we can do. So he's wanting to know what's happening. Why is this relationship happening? So karmic relationships, soul connections. A soul connection is when you feel this draw towards somebody, like you know them. Like you don't know why, you don't understand, you just know that you know them. Like sometimes it's so intense, like with the twin flame. Like you just see them and you're like, I know you. Mm-hmm. I know you. For me, I remember the relationships. I can remember the past relationship. I can remember that my chiropractor was my son in a past life. I can remember visions of one of my clients when I met her. It's like, oh gosh, you are my granddaughter from a past life. I remember once I work and tap in and I'm seeing the energy, seeing the memory, and I'm like, hell, this client even looks like Ella. If you looked at a side-by-side picture, they look like each other. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. I'll have to show you. Yeah. So, sorry, I was thinking about other things. But It is. It like takes your breath away with the twin flame. Like you see them and you're like, every time. Like you can be so mad at them. And I think about one particular client of mine and his twin flame. And they get so riled up. It's like, you know. And you can be so angry with them. Like hate, kill. Like, and then you have the big speech and you're like, okay, we're gonna have a talk, we're gonna have a conversation. I got words with you. And you show up and you're like, hi. And you can't remember. Mm-hmm. You cannot remember why you were mad at them. All you can remember is everything that you love about them. And you don't even understand why, because you barely know them. You've barely known them in this lifetime, but you know that you love them for so many reasons, and you can't explain why. And when you think about all the things that they've done in this lifetime to piss you off, it doesn't matter. For some reason, it doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter. It's like all you can think about is that right now, right here in this moment, we're supposed to be here. Why? There's karma there. So you have to look at the disconnects to learn the lessons. Because even in that moment where you're here, when that moment is gone, all the bad things start coming through again. It's like, wait a minute, okay. Now that I'm not in their energy, they did this, they did that, they did this, they did that. So you have to look at those things and figure out, what can we do to solve these problems? What can I do to learn what I'm supposed to learn so that I can grow from this feeling that I need to be here? I know I need to be here. I'm just not sure why. What do I need to? So then you start asking yourself, you have to tap into your emotions, and that's really difficult because there's always usually one feminine energy and one masculine energy in the relationship. And so we operate differently. So for you, you're mostly masculine energy, although we have both, okay? Jade is feminine energy, nurturing, kind. You're a thinker. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you have these disconnects, you have to think, how can I resolve this? Maybe I need to be more feeling, more nurturing, more understanding. See it from a different perspective. See her feelings from a different perspective. And maybe she needs to learn to think a different way, in a different perspective, so that you can find common ground. That is the goal, finding common ground or a compromise. If you can do that, then you can learn your lesson. Now, sometimes that compromise or common ground is not going to occur with the person. So you look at me and my twin flame, saying that, let's just say that I had a twin flame. We might not be able to find a common ground or come to some type of compromise or understanding. So in that case, I have to take all the emotions and think on that myself and figure out, okay, how can I resolve this on my own? Because I am on my own. I don't have a person here that wants to work things out with me. So I need to learn this lesson on my own to fix this karma so I never have to do this again with that one. Mm-hmm. Okay? And it can get to that point where you're like, yeah, that was great. Never want to experience this with you again. Because if you don't resolve the karma, then you have to do it again. Mm-hmm. In the next lifetime. And I would say most people who've had karmic relationships are like, if they don't work out, it's like, I'll take a pass on that. I never want to have to do this with you again. So when you're stuck with that, remember that the stream of energy, there's 3 streams. There's the part that I feel for you. There's the part that I feel from you. And then there's the part that I feel for myself. That self is finding your center. That's the goal. To find your center. So even when you have these soul connections, they're merely there to teach you a lesson. You have to learn your lesson to resolve the karma.
So what does that look like, learning your lesson?
So you have to own your role to play. You have to hold yourself accountable for your role to play. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I had a conversation about just that with someone very close to me recently.
Okay.
And
Ooh, I know who it is.
probably. But yeah, no, this whole idea of taking ownership for your role in whatever happened to you
Yes.
is, in my mind, so freeing.
The
Because
truth will set you free.
well, yeah, and more than that, because like,
And that
if
leads you to heaven.
If you believe that everything happens to you, you have no control over your life. You can't do anything to get yourself out of a situation
Yeah.
if you believe that things just happen to you.
Then you're a victim.
Then
And
you're
if
a
you're a victim, then you can't conquer, right?
Right.
You just sit there, bent over, waiting to receive another pounding. So you have to get out of the blame game. Like you look at the client I had today. She's going to have to look, in order to truly heal, she's going to have to face her truths in the deficiencies in her life. And so, because over her lifetime, she's created this mindset, because that's what we do. We suppress our emotions and create a different narrative so that we can survive. Because it's all about survival. But if you want to have a good life and you want to thrive, then you have to get out of survival mode. Because when you're in survival mode, you live a fear-based life. And when you live a fear-based life, you're always looking to security. And sometimes that looks like taking advantage of this person, taking for granted this person, manipulating this person to get what you need or want. Ultimately, you are not living a life worth living because you're living your life out of fear.
Yeah, and also that fear-based life tends to be reactionary.
Right.
Where you're so focused on just living out the day. I've been there. I've been low before, where it's just like I don't want to get up, but I have to. And the way I got myself out of that was, okay, I'm going to look at all the things that I can do today that will get me out of whatever situation that I was in. And then also, yeah, again, going back to taking ownership of stuff. I had to take ownership over everything that went wrong in my life, even if it wasn't technically my fault.
You have to look at your role to play.
In some way, exactly.
And if
in
that
some way, I had a
means
role to play.
letting go of that sense that they didn't love you or care about you or nurture you enough,
So be it.
so be it. You still have the wherewithal to take care of yourself and love yourself and nurture yourself. So that's that component of self,
So
finding your center.
Yeah. So is that, I guess, how you heal through karma?
Yes.
Is that mindset?
Finding yourself. And that I'm not saying becoming self-centered. I'm saying become self-focused. There's a difference.
And centered. Because
Correct.
Yeah, because
Finding your center means you have to become more self-focused. You can still be selfish, self-centered, selfless, but you always come back to center. All of these things bring you back to center. You don't want to be too much of one thing. You're never going to be all of one thing, right? It's a balance. Sometimes I'm going to be a little selfish. If I'm on a hot date, I'm going to be a little selfish, okay? And if it's a really good hot date, maybe the next date, I'll be a little selfless. It depends, okay? We oscillate we have to keep moving. Where you get stuck is when you get stuck in one thing, one emotion, one feeling, one mindset. That's where you get stuck. So you want to always go back to center. In order to do that, you have to know who you are. That's what we're trying to do. Find our purpose, have a life worth living, create a life worth living. But how do you do that? You have to know who you are, what you want, and how you want to feel. And so a lot of people navigate life doing what others want, doing what is expected of them by others. And you can do that, free will. But when that doesn't work for you and you've lived and you're in your 30s and you're like, gosh, I have this degree and I'm doing this job and golly, I just don't feel fulfilled. Like it's not fulfilling to me, because your mom always said, oh, you're going to go to MIT and be an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Asian mother. Be a doctor. But maybe that's not really what feeds your soul.
Or the opposite end of the spectrum is you've only lived your life doing the things that you want to do and you find yourself alone. You find yourself without a community and people that love you, trust you, rely on you. And you're alone. So I see that as the same thing, but opposite ends of the spectrum.
Correct. When you're selfish like that, then you take for granted, you manipulate, all of these things because you just have this, I want. At any expense, your expense, whatever you need to do to get what you want. So that's not good. There's karma in that. So now you're going to end up in the next lifetime owing all these people karma that you stepped on to get what you want. Now, I know that our purpose in life is, or God gives us three things: a physical body, free will, and a life force. And that free will is so important. What do you want? How do you want to feel? That is your purpose. However, when you're centered and self-focused, then you are able to sometimes be giving, sometimes be receiving. There's a balance there. You need that balance, and I think that's so important. And when you find that you're getting out of balance, that's when you know, okay, I need to come back home. I need to find my center. I'm doing too much of this, and it doesn't feel good to me anymore because I feel like they're taking me for granted. So then you find your center again.
But that requires the wherewithal to recognize that I am giving too much, and it's okay to pull back, even though that person
now has an expectation,
or even will punish you for it.
Yeah.
Because I know people that are in that situation where if they do pull back and say, hey, I am giving too much, and I need to look inward a little bit, and I need something from you, they will get punished for it. And I think
so you have to have the courage.
Yeah, that's where the courage comes into play.
To stand your ground. Right? So you stand your ground, and hopefully you can find common ground. That is a relationship. You're relating your emotions. So communication is key. And I find right now, a lot of people, communication is not as important anymore. Expressing yourself is not an art like it used to be. Remember like when you were young, in the old days we used to do this thing where you have a piece of paper and you actually write. There's this thing called cursive, and you could write, and you'd write a letter to your friend. Dear friend, how are you? How art thou? So they don't do that anymore. We don't do that anymore. It's very quick. In fact, I think everybody would resonate with how many relationships have been damaged because of texting, because of poor communication. There's no inflection in the voice. You can't, if you're not communicating like this, then, if I say, fuck you, well, if it's written, there's many ways that could be. It could be, fuck you. It could be, fuck you, it could be all these, it depends. And I think that's important.
What's that stat? It's 90% of communication is nonverbal. It's about how your face looks, the intonations of your voice, everything that you had said. Even the way your hands are, you can have a closed fist, you can have open hands.
Like if I'm like,
right,
fuck you. Like that's funny. I don't really mean like fuck off. Okay. And I think that's important. Like I look at young people dating right now. Everything is online. Everything is texting. Like people can have relationships that are 80% they're courting through text. And I don't understand that, because there's not the eye contact. Like if I'm sitting across from somebody and we're on a date, you can try to lie to me, but I will know. I will know. I will smell it. I will hear it in the tone of your voice. Well, for me, because I'm designed differently, when you say a lie, I actually hear the word lie. Lie, because my guides, they let me know. It doesn't mean, all it means is I'm just aware of it. I'm aware. Why is this motherfucker lying to me? Why? Why? Because people lie to themselves. People lie to themselves. They create this narrative that life is good, that I know what I'm doing, that I am at the top of my game. But really, it's just a lie that they've created to suppress the emotions that they don't want to talk about. And that's the truth of what's going to come forward in these relationships. So you look at karma, and that's what you're looking at. You have to find a way to express yourself. Ultimately, all this matters because I matter. Okay, I want to have a good life. And if that means that this connection that I have with somebody feels important and we're having trouble seeing eye to eye, then I want to make sure I pay attention. I'm aware of what they're saying, what they're doing, how I'm receiving it, how I'm addressing it, so that we can find common ground or compromise. I want to learn the lesson. Because every time I learn my lesson, I evolve. We want to evolve. That's part of the purpose. That means you have to fight your battle, right? In a peaceful way. We are evolving all the time. And so part of discovering the nature of who we are is through our relationships with others. If I can find out who I am through you, I'm going to be better for it, right? One thing that I notice when I'm around you is that I realize how, God, you just have so much information that you keep locked in, you know? And I think that's great. I'm not like that. Like stuff kind of flows in and out, but for me, I just extrapolate because that's just how I'm designed. Does it mean that that's the only way I can be? No. I just try harder to learn more. You know, if I meet someone and I find them interesting, I might learn a little bit more about that. You know, where's Croatia on the map? Where is Montenegro? What does that mean? What does it look like? What language do they speak? You know, what does that sound like? What is their politics? What is their religion? Just learn more, discover, because I'm discovering who I am in that. Do I find interest in that? Oh, well, turns out, you know, maybe I do need to evolve more and become more well-read and learn things if that's what I want, if that's something that interests me. That's how I become interesting. So if nothing ever interests you, because you're too busy getting what you want all the time by taking everybody for granted, your life is going to be very empty in the end. There's no, how do you say, substance, right? Everything that you've obtained, everything that you have collected has been off the energy of everybody else. So it's a lonely life. If you want a fulfilling life, you have to learn how to engage with others in a give and take, because then there's love there, and that love fills my love tank. And then you have to learn how to be self-fulfilling.
Well, it's good karma, right? Like whenever you are interested in improving the well-being of others as well as yourself, and pursuing that with actions. Yeah. That is the mechanism of acquiring good karma, right?
Yeah. There was something else, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, so remember how you're saying when you went through that period of time, a lot of people, most of my clients are depressed. Okay. And so what does depression feel like? Depression is the energy required to suppress our emotions. All those emotions that we don't want to feel because they're tethered to unhappy endings in the past. Right? So in order to heal, you have to feel it. You have to feel it to heal it. So how can you get out of that depressive state? Sometimes the best thing you can do is do things for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Because it gives you purpose. It gives you purpose to get out of your funk, to get out of your own misery, and to help somebody else through their own misery. Because one thing I find by doing healing work on people is that I always resonate with somebody in their pain. You know? So by healing them, I get to heal a part of myself just because I give a shit. And I show up for them. You know? So that's me showing up for myself, because as I'm in that energy, I'm like, wow, that's me. Like, I've been there. And I'm telling this lady because I'm channeling and Spirit's saying, hey, we all make mistakes. At some point, you have to just look at what you're accountable for and say, yeah, I could have been better. Okay, be better, not bitter.
Mm-hmm.
I could have been better. And you know what? I could have been better too. As I'm telling this client, you could have been better. And so it's like, you know, it's like a little moment. That's heaven. When that light, bing, that's heaven. So heaven isn't a place, isn't a destination necessarily that you go to when you die. It is a moment of living in your truth. And if you've lived a lot of good moments and you have a lot of good karma, guess what? When you die, heaven. Okay? Those fractured parts of the soul hang back and dwell in hell. And that is something that people can have when they're still alive. The fractured parts of your soul that dwell in hell, that's your hell. Those are the ghosts that haunt you. So if we can go back in time, heal those parts of you, you might be able to prevent yourself from having karma later. Because I'll tell you, if you don't care and you don't believe in all this stuff, like, oh, whatever, karma, I don't even believe in that stuff. That's fine. You don't have to. But consider that karma is real. As a healer, I can tell you, karma is real. And it may not affect you, but if you are fortunate enough that it doesn't affect you in this lifetime, you can bet your ass it's going to affect your children, your children's children, and their children, and your children's 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 children. Threefold. That's the way it works. So I have people who come in and I'm talking to him and I'm like, hey, your grandfather's showing up and he said you're a male chauvinist. No, I'm not. Okay. And so we'll start listing, okay, here's the behaviors of being a male chauvinist. Does any of that resonate with you? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Well, your pop said that you get that from him. And he's sorry. Mm. He's sorry he didn't do better. And he's here to tell you, be better. Learn from my mistakes because you don't want your son suffering like you've been suffering. You're suffering right now because of me. Because I took advantage of those women. Because I took advantage of my wife. Because I didn't care enough about the people around me, and I was just so selfish and self-centered and too much, so much so that it affected his dad and now him. And now here he's got this son who could bypass all of that and be free and clear if my client learns his lesson and faces his truth that, hell, I'm guilty. I have a little bit of male chauvinistic in me tendencies.
So karma can turn into a generational curse.
Yes. Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah. But it makes sense. Does make sense.
So if you don't believe that karma is real, that's fine. But if you love your children, which we do, right? We love our kids. The gal that came in today, she's feeling the weight of her actions on her children. And that awareness is what is like, something has to change. She just doesn't realize how much of her actions has impacted her physical well-being and how her kids' happiness is affected by it now, you know? And in order for her to face that karma, she has to face herself, self-reflection. She has to look in the mirror, and that's judgment. Remember we were talking about judgment, okay? Because I was telling you, God told me, it's not God that judges us. It's not God's judgment that determines whether or not we get into heaven. It is our own judgment. Because heaven is moments. It's not necessarily the end. It's all these little moments. Did I live in the light? Did I live in my truth? If I did, that's a heavenly moment. If not, then I'm going to dwell in hell. Okay? So she has to look in the mirror and face her reality, what she's been trying to suppress this whole time. And with the narrative like, no, I was a good mom. I was this, I was that, I was, yeah, probably there were moments where you were. And there are probably more moments than you're willing to admit that you weren't. And the thing is, as a healer, I know that, people aren't just necessarily born assholes. There's always moments. There's choices. And, we want to strive to do the light thing. What is my truth? That is the light. What is my truth? In this moment, this decision that I'm about to make, am I doing it for me? Am I doing it for them? How do you know what is the right thing to do? The right thing is taking into account everybody else's opinion, because you care what people think. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to stay married to this person that I don't feel is in alignment with me. Like maybe they beat you. Maybe they're abusive to you. Maybe they just neglect you. Well, neglect, that's not so bad, right? You keep pouring your love into somebody. They don't pay attention. They receive, but there's no reciprocation, or very little reciprocation. Or there's reciprocation in a way that it doesn't matter. It doesn't hit you in the way that you need, so they're not meeting your needs. Okay? Neglect is a slow death. So do you blame your partner for neglecting you? For not showing up for you? For not filling your love tank? No, you have to blame yourself for not speaking your truth.
Yeah, not properly communicating that you are feeling neglected.
Right.
Right.
Or stop doing the behaviors and find your center. Okay? Become more self-focused. Instead of, preparing dinner for you every night, what you like to eat, maybe I'll put some of the stuff that I like to eat. Maybe I'll find a mix. Maybe I'll, suggest, hey, you want to cook dinner tonight? Maybe I'll teach my kids how to cook so that they can learn to become self-focused and self-aware and capable to cook so that I don't feel like a slave, which I know my family's going to be laughing because cooking's not my favorite thing to do, okay? But it makes a good example. Does this make sense?
I think so.
Right. So where does that karma play? Karma is what happens when we make decisions with the intention that I don't give a shit. Like you're not paying attention. You're not aware of that what you're doing is affecting other people. and becoming a burden on them. When that happens, that's your karma. Because you have to do the good deed to reverse that karma. So whether it's in this lifetime or in next lifetime, or maybe your kids will carry that burden for you. It is so common that we as children carry burdens for our parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty true.
So how do you know? How do you know if you've got karma? If you have a feeling or a sense of something that's going on, and it's like, why does this keep happening to me? Why can I not get on top of this? I feel like all these bad things keep happening to me. I feel like all my relationships, everything is negative. Then you probably have some karma. So you can start breaking it down and trying to figure out, what is my role to play? What am I accountable for? How can I see this in a different perspective that can shift me out of this? You can do that, but if it's overwhelming, then you come see me.
And how can they come see you?
Make an appointment. JanetArai.com. I had to think about that because I have two websites, but JanetArai.com. Book an appointment, or you can go on Instagram, Janet.energyhealer, I think. I think you can just put Janet Arai. There's so much stuff to remember. I don't know.
I'll have links.
You can put the link up.
I'll put the links in there.
Yeah. If you can avoid karma, avoid it by making good decisions and doing the light thing. Always ask yourself, is this the light thing? What is that? Am I living in my truth? Remember, light and truth are the same. And if you are making your decisions based on what's light for you, then it's going to affect everybody in your life in a positive way. And so then you don't have to be stressed about, is this going to be a good decision for my children? Is it the best for you? Then it's going to affect your children in a positive way. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. What else? Oh yeah, and find your center. We'll talk about that next time.
Next time. Till next time.
Till next time.